Coach Tony, Risling Podium Performance, and today I'm going to be talking about bracing yourself when it comes to lifting and physical performance. But we first have to answer three basic questions. What is bracing your core and bracing yourself? Why do you do it? And then finally, how to properly brace. Now, if you get some value from this, please take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. So let's hop right in, first answering what is bracing your core. Really what you are doing is you're taking slack out of the system. Right now, just talking, I've got a lot of slack through my core, through my kind of midsection, because I'm not having to exert any force. Yes, I'm talking, but there's a lot of fluidity to me right now. I can just kind of move around. But if I brace myself, now all of a sudden, there's a lot more rigidity to my midsection. It doesn't just bend as easily. This helps to be protective. What I'm really doing is I'm creating what's referred to as a fluid ball inside of my intra-abdominal cavity. I'm increasing the pressure in there just using air and muscular tension. I've basically taken my transverse abdominal muscle and I've contracted it along with my diaphragm and other muscles in your midsection, your abdominals, your obliques and everything, so that they're now braced. Your spine is now stabilized with your transverse abdominis, taking that contraction, and it's now braced up against your spine to keep things nice and stable. And now you're keeping your spine protected, which leads us into why do you brace yourself? The biggest reason at the end of the day is injury protective. It helps to keep your spinal column, you know, where all your nerves are going, where people get a lot of issues, where people are worried about injuring. It helps to be protective for that. The other reasons why we do a brace is, one, it increases performance. It increases your performance by, one, increasing your blood pressure. That might sound bad to some people, but if you're trying to exert force or you're trying to perform a physical task, you need your blood pressure to go up so that you're getting blood to muscles that are actually contracting. So this will then allow you to either explode through something, like if you're throwing a punch, you're throwing a baseball, or I'm going to use the example because Canada just won it, the men's and women's hammer throw at the World Championships. You're about to launch a 4 kilo or like an 8 kilo cannonball 80 meters into the night sky. You need to be nicely braced to be able to then counter the forces that are going against you. As that athlete is spinning, there's a lot of force being pulled on their body. You're looking at 100, almost 200 kilos of force pulling against them. Now, if you're not braced properly, that's pulling that way away from you. So that's pulling everything this way. If you're not properly braced for that, you're now running the risk of injuring not just your shoulder muscles and everything, but your back as well, because it's pulling all your spinal column in the direction that that ball wants to go. So that's why you want to actually have a good proper brace. What you're also doing is you're countering any external forces or pressures. So if you're getting under the bar for a squat, or you're about to lift up the bar for a deadlift, you're about to bench press, you're about to press overhead, that bracing helps to overcome that external pressure. Just think, if you take a breath in and you're doing your typical chest breathing, where your ribs come up and down, your intercostal muscles are actually contracting to pull the rib cage up, which is going to decrease the pressure inside of your lungs because they're expanding a little bit. And then you inhale. So this lack of pressure inside forces an inhalation that then fills your lungs up. When you exhale, it's now pushing that air back out. Now when we brace, you're kind of doing the same thing. You're filling up the intra-abdominal cavity with air. You're increasing the pressure in there as well so that things stay nice and strong and stable. Now that leads us to how. How do you brace properly? And this is important because it's commonly miscommunicated. I recently saw someone who's about to be teaching a course explaining it very poorly, and it's actually going to set people up for injury. So I'm going to start with what not to do. A lot of people, when they brace themselves, they kind of do the chest breathing. You don't want to be doing that. Also, when you're about to brace yourself, you don't want to be getting your spine into an unnatural position. You don't want to be forcing your lumbar spine back, your thoracic spine, and then your cervical spine into an unnatural position. Me just standing like this, now that I've changed the alignment of my spine, it's freaking uncomfortable just standing there. Now imagine being uncomfortable while lifting 100, 200, 300, 400 kilos. It's not going to end well for you. You're putting yourself in the wrong positions to then be able to handle external load. You want your spine to stay in as close to its natural position as possible. Now, if you're doing a wind-up for a baseball pitch, for example, where you're here, everything is going to have some twisting. You're here, everything's twisting in and going. But if you're braced properly, it helps to create some pressures inside to prevent any kind of improper movements of the spinal column so that it is protected. That's what we're really trying to do when we brace. We're protecting our spinal column at the end of the day, because that's where all the force transfers through, and that's where everything at the end of the day is going to end up getting felt. You might pull other muscles, but it's your spinal column that you're really trying to protect when you brace yourself. Now, how to properly brace. Here's a simple way to learn. Take your hands just like this, open them up. Now put them right under your ribs, but into like where your obliques are, into your midsection. Push in with some force. Now when you're bracing yourself, instead of breathing into your rib cage like you saw there, you want to actually push out against your hands. So see how my hands actually move out as I'm doing this? I'm filling my belly up with air to then create that fluid ball in there. So now when I do that, everything's nice and strong. If I do that from the front as well, now my abs push out ever so slightly, but everything's nice and tight right now. Even when I'm speaking, I can make it so that everything's nice and tight. That's how you properly brace yourself. And here's some examples while you're also lifting. You're doing a squat. I'm going to use the squat as the example because it's a very easy one to show. So here, bar's on my back, I'm just getting ready. Okay, I've taken the bar off the rack, I've stepped back. I'm chest breathing with this one. No, you don't want to be doing the chest breathing. That's not how you want to be doing it. You get yourself ready, get yourself into that proper squat position, pull the elbows down, everything's nice and tight, and you breathe right into that belly, nice and tight. So when you do that breath, now you're ready to lift. Now you can squat, doesn't matter how much weight is there. You can squat that weight as long as you're strong enough for it. That is how you properly brace yourself, regardless of what lift that you are doing. Another example, here, take a look at the start of a 100-meter race. You see them, they're on your marks. Now, as they come up into set, if it's dead silent, you're going to see them come up to set. There's a big breath in right there. In a silent stadium, you will be able to hear that even in the stands. And then as the gun goes off, they're taking a big, hard exhalation as they push off the blocks. The reason for that is something called the Valsalva maneuver. That's where you're intentionally keeping that breath in, so you're and exerting force. And this, like I said on the Y part, increases your blood pressure, which then increases the amount of force your body can output. So if you're lifting heavy, you're going to notice that you kind of hold your breath a little bit because you're really pushing, you're grinding through it. And the better you get at doing that, the more efficient you are. Some of you might be worried about this increase in blood pressure. Don't worry about that when you're doing it acutely. It's very short-lived. Anytime you're doing physical activity, your blood pressure systolically is going to go up. Now, if you do have high blood pressure, before you do physical activity, go check with your doctor and make sure that the doctor does a comprehensive physical to ensure that you are physically able to do physical activity with actual exertion. I'm saying this partially as a cover my ass policy saying that, but also because it is a smart thing to do, especially if you're in your 40s, 50s, and 60s and you've got anything like type 2 hypertension. It's always good to check with your doctor to ensure there's no other contraindications. Anyways, if you got any value from how to properly brace yourself to lift or other physical performance tasks, please take a moment again to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. That's everything for today. Coach Tony, Risling Podium Performance. Embrace your potential.